So last week I made a video about gold and silver plans and what Dave Ramsey might think of them. What I didn't know is that one of the words that he uses will get you in trouble with YouTube, and I can't even make this stuff up. YouTube took that video off the main timeline. Well, the joke's on you, YouTube, because I wanted to clear some things up anyway, and I can always just put an emphasis on a different syllable. Your censor bots won't even know what hit them. But more on that in a minute. See, I just said it. So this has been a weird week, maybe even a weird year. Markets are rallying at a time when things feel like they shouldn't be. We hear the economy is strong, inflation is cooling, but a McDonald's cheeseburger costs $8.67. Last week I put together a matrix. Depending on your plans and how deep into them you are, you would fall into one of four quadrants: safe, loser, idiot, or more on. Dave's words, not mine. Now, the idea is that just because things are crazy, our plans don't need to be, and sometimes it helps just to have a way to check in, see if what we're doing makes any sense. Now, Dave's name calling goes too far, that's what made it funny, but we're bringing him along in spirit because his mean names make an easy acronym. SLIM, Slim. Now, in the last video on this, we just barely got into the important part, which is our rationale, if we actually have any. Now, I've seen a handful of Dave's responses to callers asking about gold and silver, but I've never heard him ask what their rationale was. And I guess what I take there is that he doesn't think there is any. And look, if I'm not being rational, if I'm being crazy and I don't realize it, I want to be told. And YouTube channels out there, they're not going to help because they're going to tell me I'm not crazy enough. And that's where some of the name calling and the crabby delivery might actually be helpful. Like a friend who's willing to tell you you have something in your teeth. Maybe your fly is down, or you're just being stupid. So real quick, in case you missed the last one, the way the matrix works is pretty simple. We have a y-axis and an x-axis. On the x-axis, we log the amount of gold or silver we're looking at for any purpose that we might have. Now, if we don't split it up into different parts with individual plans, just add it up all together. If we have a little bit of gold and silver, we're going to drop a point somewhere on the left of the grid. If we have a lot, it goes to the right. So what's a little bit? Well, we're going to start the midline at around 25 ounces of gold or 500 ounces of silver. That midline is going to change based on things like your income, cost of living, all of that, but we'll come back to that. The y-axis is liquidity. So the more likely you are to sell, the further down the point falls on the grid. So at the bottom, you plan to sell it at some point for sure. You're just waiting for a trigger, and at the top, you never plan to sell. Now, the likelihood of the trigger determines where it falls between those 2 points. So if it's a backup, it's there for a personal emergency. It's still in the bottom half, but it's higher up. If you have it for some kind of less likely, say, wide-scale crisis or unlikely moonshot, it's in the top half. This is a range. So that brings us up to speed on that matrix. Now, what does it mean? Well, if we look at how it works for 3 ounces of gold, I can have 3 ounces of gold with no logical liquidation plan. I can have it because maybe I'll get my family across some kind of border if alien lizards take over the United States. It's an unlikely event, but not a lot of gold. So it's in the top left quadrant. Quadrant 2, this is the L quadrant according to Dave. He says you're a loser for not having a logical plan, but I could say that I don't need a plan for 3 ounces of gold. In the grand scheme, buying that amount of gold with no plan, it's not going to alter my course in life. The lizard aliens thing might be crazy, but having a few ounces of gold is not. That's not taking things far enough to be crazy. So, not crazy yet. And that's really what we want to get at here. Is the plan crazy? Is part of the plan crazy? Is a lack of a plan crazy? That's really what we're after. Now, something more like 50 ounces of gold, that puts me past the midline, and that's a significant amount, at least to me. So, significant amount, I need to plan for it. This is only for emergency use, that's the plan, but it's less likely that I'll liquidate it. So, I have a plan that makes sense to me, and it's a significant amount, so lower right quadrant, quadrant 3. That's the I quadrant. Dave says I've spent too much, so I'm an idiot. But look, there's nothing slowing me down in a possible sale here. If these mint tubes were buffaloes, eagles, and maples, it's an easy flip, and the gold has been appreciating at an average of 7.5% each year. So this isn't crazy. Plan A is an emergency backup fund. If I don't need it, Plan B goes to my kids. So sorry, Dave, or whoever we're justifying ourselves to, it's just not crazy. So let's get some new examples in here. 60 ounces of silver. Well, this is the same as 3 ounces of gold, and I have it because I don't know why. Okay, the word silver and money are synonymous in a dozen different languages or something, so I can use it to trade for things if the lizard aliens take over. Now, American Silver Eagles, they're the most popular bullion coin in the world. Silver Maples, they're up there too. So easy flip here or trade. No real plan though. And I paid a gross amount in premium. So we're going to put this in the top left quadrant again. L quadrant, but still not crazy. Now don't worry though, when I start buying designer silver, start paying wild premiums for it, there's just no question here. It's crazy. This is where we start to hurt some feelings, mine included. But these Gods of Olympus coins here, they cost $100 an ounce. So we're Tiger Kinging it now. I'm never going to financially recover from this. Now, it's not all that bad. Some serious coins, they're not nearly as expensive. But if we make it a point to buy all these serious coins because, hey, I can afford them one at a time, Wolverine, Winnie the Pooh, well, 99% of us are going to be paying more than we'll ever be able to sell them for. So we're the dummies spending too much, hoping to make it up in volume. Now, this might be entertainment for you, but it is not a plan. So upper left quadrant, if we're doing a little bit of it, that's the L quadrant. Upper right quadrant, if we're doing a lot of it, that's the bad one. The M quadrant, the word that YouTube took me off the timeline for using. You're a moron. Now, Dave Ramsey aside, if we aren't actively profiting from this or really, really, really enjoying it, it's crazy. Now, before somebody says I'm picking on silver here, same thing goes for gold. I don't think anyone would say don't buy series coins, but just don't pay a gross amount in premium that you will never get back. I'm going to give you some examples of both. Some of these coins are popular enough that I could easily recover the spent premium on. The rest of them, maybe I think that I could, but I'm probably fooling myself. So look, there's nothing wrong with buying what you like, as long as you aren't labeling it a financial decision. So this is what, 15 ounces of buying what I like? Well, one of these at least would be a big win. The rest, well, it's hard to say. Let me grab out 3 more. Now, these will probably do well, but there's a very small market for them. The Mustang, that one is easier. So I paid $2,715 for this 2021 American Liberty high relief gold Mustang. Going for $6,000 on eBay right now. AppMex would even pay me a lot more for it today than I paid for it then. Talking premium, not just spot price. Now, I paid $400 over spot for this high relief Lunar Dragon, and I don't know exactly how much it's appreciated, but again, I could easily recover at least that much today. Now the rest of this, it's hit or miss, and some of these I paid more for because I wanted to complete a set. Now also, because I like them, I'm going to be less willing to sell them, and if I do, there will always be fewer people interested in buying them. So I'll either get less for them or it'll take a lot longer to sell them. So upper right quadrant because of cost, if I'm going to have trouble recovering that premium. Lower right quadrant if I'm not losing any premium at all and I'm willing to let them go. So idiot or moron according to Dave, and if I'm being honest here, unless I'm really enjoying it, it's a little crazy. Now fractional gold, it kind of gets a bad rap here. I've had trouble finding fractional gold at a decent premium the past few years. That's been changing lately. So this all depends. When the premium is high, the smart move is going to be to save for a full ounce. When the premium is closer to what you'd find on a full ounce, well, it's nice to be able to buy whatever amount you want to spend when you want to spend it. The spot price of gold is trading above $2,400 right now. And maybe you want to buy an ounce of gold, but those McDonald's cheeseburgers are eating into your discretionary spending account. So this isn't lack of planning, this is simply lack of having money burning a hole in your pocket. So even with premiums at 9 to 13%, I can see cases for fractional. And it could be that maybe you just want to be able to sell incrementally. I'd say don't go too far there, but it does give you more flexibility. So it fits on the matrix the same as anything else. But as far as crazy goes, if you aren't grossly overpaying for those coins, I don't think anyone can say it's crazy. Now we could keep going on these examples all day long, but you get the idea. The final call on what's crazy is yours. I just think the quadrants help rate severity here. I can probably make a case for just about anything if I was going to think about it long enough. There are reasonable escape clauses for all but that fourth quadrant, the moron quadrant. That's the one that we want to avoid. We want to avoid doing something stupid at scale. Now we can just say Dave Ramsey doesn't get us. He's just being mean, and Dave calling us an idiot or a loser, well, that's a badge of honor. If we stop and think about it, though, all of this is still going to be useful to check in on what we're up to, because when we take the voices like Dave's out of this mix, well, it's just a room of people banging on a table saying the same thing. More. So the only thing better than having a friend tell you when you're being stupid is being aware on your own. And that's the idea here. Not to make you not need friends, just to know how to get the most out of your gold and silver buying. Now, I have some vaulted. I'm about to vault some more. And I can tell you that every time I get to that point, I go through this same thinking. I should have just bought one or two things. And that's what I end up vaulting. It's Eagles and Maples, by the way. That just makes the most financial sense. Now, I have a handful of coins that I would never change my happy idiot purchases. Dave would say happy loser purchases. And I'm not changing any of that. But I have 20 to 30 purchases, maybe more, that I could point to that just did not make sense. And I usually end up regretting those. So maybe a matrix and some mean names from Dave Ramsey will help out in the future. So let's call it good there. YouTube's going to censor those comments, so be careful how you emphasize your syllables. But let us know your plans, your lack thereof, whether you're coming out crazy or, I don't know, crazy like a fox. Let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to hear more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.